AI broke the internet again, and this week has been absolutely stacked. xAI drops Grok Imagine Video 1.5, and within days, it just knocked every other model off the top of the image-to-video leaderboard. MiniMax releases M3, a fully open-weight model with a 1,000,000 token context window. NVIDIA drops Cosmos3-Nano. This one is a single model that can watch a robot, predict what happens next, generate the video, add the audio, and output the action commands all at once. Alibaba's Qwen team releases Qwen-VLA, a robotics model that scores 97.9% on the standard manipulation benchmark and works across completely different robot bodies out of the box. ByteDance drops Bernini, a video model that can edit, restyle, insert objects, and generate all from the same model, all in one pass. TripoSplat turns a single photo into a full 3D scene you can spin around in real time. Qwen drops a 30 billion parameter vision model that only activates 3 billion at a time. Google quietly launches a free AI evaluation toolkit that might change how you test your models. And we have new releases in OCR, text-to-speech, and speaker diarization that are genuinely worth your time. There is a lot here, and every single item in this video is actually useful. So let's jump right in. First up, xAI drops Grok Imagine Video 1.5 preview, and this one landed at the top of the leaderboard immediately. This is their latest image-to-video model, and it just took the #1 spot on the image-to-video arena at 720p with an ELO score of 1,473. That is a 52-point jump over the previous Grok Imagine version, which puts it ahead of Dance 2, Happy Horse, and Google Veo. Now, what makes this model stand out is the audio. It generates synchronized dialogue, background music, sound effects, and ambient audio all in one pass. No separate audio pipeline needed. For content creators who are tired of cobbling together video and audio separately, this is a meaningful improvement. The output is 720p at 24 frames per second. Clip lengths range from 6 to 15 seconds, and it supports 7 aspect ratios, including 16:9, 9:16, and 1:1. They also added improvements to face accuracy, lighting, physical rendering, and motion consistency compared to last model. And the video extension feature, where you chain clips together, is now smoother, less quality degradation in longer sequences. Pricing via the xAI API is 14 cents per second of 720p output. So a 10-second clip runs you $1.40. If you want 480p, it is 8 cents per second. A 5-second clip is 40 cents. Compare that to Google Veo 3.1 at roughly $12 per minute with audio, and this is significantly cheaper for the same quality tier or better. It is available via the xAI API today. If you are interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also, this week, MiniMax releases M3. And this is a really big one. MiniMax calls this the first open-weight model to combine 3 things that were previously only available in closed frontier models: frontier-level coding, a 1,000,000 token context window, and native multimodality. And looking at the benchmarks, that claim holds up. On SWE Bench Pro, which tests real-world software engineering tasks, M3 scores 59%, ahead of GPT 5.5. On BrowseComp, which measures how well a model can navigate the web and perform multi-step research tasks autonomously, it scores 83.5, which MiniMax says edges past Claude Opus 4.7. And that 1,000,000 token context window is not just a spec. It is enabled by their new MiniMax Sparse Attention Architecture, or MSA, which cuts per token compute at long context to roughly 1/20th of what full attention would cost. To prove it works, MiniMax ran 3 long horizon tests. In the first, they gave M3 an ICLR 2025 award-winning paper and asked it to reproduce the research independently. The model ran for 12 hours, produced 18 commits and 23 experimental figures, and successfully replicated the core findings. In the second test, they asked it to optimize a GPU compute kernel on NVIDIA Hopper hardware, the kind of task that takes experienced engineers 1 to 2 weeks. M3 pushed hardware utilization from 7.6% to a competitive level over 24 hours, with no reference solution to copy from. These are not cherry-picked demos. They are hour-long autonomous runs that stress test the model in ways that a typical benchmark does not. Now on pricing, M3 via API is 30 cents per million input tokens and $1.20 per million output tokens. Compare that to Claude Opus 4.7 at $5 input and $25 output. M3 is more than 15 times cheaper on input, and the weights will be published as open source shortly for those who want to self-host. If you are interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. At this point, I have just accepted that NVIDIA wakes up every morning, has a coffee, and drops another model before lunch. This one is a single model that can watch a robot, predict what happens next, generate the video, add the audio, and output the action commands all at once. Just another Tuesday for Jensen. This is a 16 billion parameter omni-modal. So for example, NVIDIA showed a demo where you give Cosmos3-Nano an audio prompt that just says, "Put all the bananas on the plate." And the model generates the full robot action sequence, the video of it happening, and the audio all together. Or they showed a 2-arm industrial robot getting the prompt, "Pick the core electric wire and put it in the bin," using both arms. And Cosmos3-Nano generates the action trajectory data the robot needs to actually execute that task. The architecture is called Mixture of Transformers. In other words, 2 transformer towers working together. An auto-regressive transformer for discrete outputs like text, and a diffusion transformer for continuous outputs like video, images, and audio. Cosmos3-Nano specifically is designed for high-quality video and action reasoning in fractions of a second. The awesome thing is this is available for commercial and non-commercial use. You can find the Cosmos3-Nano and Cosmos3 Super checkpoints on Hugging Face, and all the training scripts and code are on GitHub. If you are interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. In robotics news, Alibaba's Qwen team releases Qwen-VLA, and this is a really significant open source release for anyone building physical AI. VLA stands for Vision Language Action. In other words, it is a model that sees the world, understands instructions in natural language, and directly outputs robot actions. What makes Qwen-VLA particularly impressive is the benchmark results. On Libero, a standard robotic manipulation benchmark, it scores 97.9%, which is right at the top of what any model has achieved on that task. On RoboTwin Hard, which tests harder manipulation scenarios, it scores 87.2%. On real-world Aloha experiments, that is a dual-arm robot platform, it achieves 76.9% average out-of-distribution success. And zero-shot on domino dynamic manipulation, which it has never seen before, it hits 26.6%. That zero-shot number is what stands out because most robot models fall apart the moment you change the scene. And the awesome thing is this is fully open source under Apache 2. The code is on GitHub and the weights are on Hugging Face. If you are interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, ByteDance releases Bernini, and this is a unified video generation and editing framework that is genuinely impressive in terms of what it can do in one model. The key idea is it uses an MLLM, a multimodal large language model, as a semantic planner to first reason over your inputs and predict what the output should look like, and then a DIT-based renderer to actually generate the video from those semantic plans. So instead of prompt to video in one shot, you have a plan then render pipeline. What this enables is 4 different modes in one model. Video-to-video editing, where you give it a video and a text instruction and it edits accordingly. Reference-guided editing, where you give it a reference image to guide the style or object appearance in the edit. Content insertion, where you take an image or short video clip and seamlessly insert it into an existing video. And reference-to-video generation, where you give it up to 5 reference images and it generates a new video that preserves the appearance of everything in those images. The code and model weights are available on GitHub and Hugging Face. If you are interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also, this week, Vast AI releases TripoSplat, and this one is cool for anyone working in 3D. TripoSplat converts a single 2D image into 3D Gaussian splats. In other words, you give it one photo of an object and it generates a high-quality 3D representation you can view from any angle. 3D Gaussian splatting is a rendering technique that is becoming very popular because it produces photorealistic results and renders in real time. Much faster than traditional mesh-based 3D, TripoSplat's key claim is flexibility in the number of Gaussians it generates, meaning it can produce variable density outputs depending on how detailed you need the result to be. So a simple object might need fewer Gaussians and render faster, while a complex scene gets more. The code is available on GitHub. If you are interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, Qwen drops Qwen-VLA, the latest vision language model from the team behind the Qwen platform. This is a 30 billion parameter sparse mixture of experts model. So the 30 billion is the total size, but only 3 billion parameters are activated per token. That means you get the reasoning quality of a 30 billion model at the compute cost of a 3B model. It handles text and image inputs and is multilingual, so not just English. It is built on top of Qwen architecture and released under Apache 2. The awesome thing is, it is available on Hugging Face right now. If you are interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, Paddle releases Paddle OCR, the latest version of their open source document parsing pipeline. Paddle OCR has been one of the most downloaded document understanding tools in the open source ecosystem for years, and version 1.6 is a meaningful upgrade. This version is built on top of the Ernie 4.5 backbone and handles text spotting, layout analysis, table parsing, formula recognition, chart understanding, and seal detection, all in one unified pipeline. In other words, it is not just an OCR tool. It is a full document intelligence pipeline that can handle complex, real-world documents and return structured output. On Omni DocBench v1.6, which is a standard document parsing benchmark, it scores at the top among open source models. And there is a 0.9b variant for those who need something lightweight enough to run locally without a GPU. It is available on Hugging Face under Apache 2.0. If you are interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also, this week, Note releases Speaker Diarization 3.1. And if you have ever worked with multi-speaker audio, meeting recordings, interview transcripts, podcasts, you know why this matters. Speaker Diarization is the task of figuring out who spoke when in an audio file. Now, 3.1 is the current open source version. On the AMI meeting dataset, it achieves an 18.8% diarization error rate. On Vox Converse, it hits 11.2%. For reference, a diarization error rate around 10 to 20% means roughly 6 to 11 minutes of errors per hour of audio, which is usable for most real-world transcription workflows. What is worth noting here is that the team also released a newer Community 1 model alongside 3.1, which reduces error rates meaningfully. For example, Ali meeting drops from 24.5% to 20.3%, and AMI IHM drops from 18.8% to 17.0%. And their premium Precision 2 model, available via the Pioneer AI Cloud, cuts those numbers even further. So there is a clear upgrade path. Start with the open source 3.1, move to Community 1 for free when you need better accuracy, and go premium for production-grade deployment. It is free, it integrates with Whisper for transcription, and it is used by 140,000 registered developers and sees 45 million monthly downloads on Hugging Face. You can find it on Hugging Face. If you are interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, OpenMOSS releases MOSS-TTS version 1.5, an open-source text-to-speech model that supports 31 languages and focuses on voice cloning. The upgrade over v1.0 brings more stable voice cloning. In other words, if you generate the same voice twice, you get consistent results rather than variation. It also adds explicit pause control, so you can insert natural pauses anywhere in the output by adding markers like pause 3.2 seconds directly in your text. Long reference cloning is improved too, meaning if your reference audio is much longer than the target text, it handles that gracefully now. And punctuation following prosody is more accurate in long sentences. Pauses land where you actually put the commas and periods. It is available on Hugging Face under Apache 2, and you can try it on their demo page at studio.mozy.cn. If you are interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. And finally, Google Labs quietly releases Stax, and this one is specifically for AI developers building products. Stax is a free AI evaluation toolkit. In other words, it helps you systematically test and measure how well your AI actually performs, rather than relying on gut feel or generic leaderboard scores. The core idea is that most developers use benchmarks designed for someone else's problem. Stax lets you build your own evaluations tuned to your specific product and users. You set up a dataset of your real use cases, define custom evaluators or metrics that actually matter for your product, and then track performance over time as you iterate on prompts, models, or chains. There are 3 stages: experiment, where you quickly compare different models or prompts; evaluate, where you run managed dataset tests with custom evaluators; and analyze, where you see aggregated performance dashboards to know when you are actually ready to ship. It is free, it runs on Google infrastructure, you sign in with Google, and it connects to their Discord community for support. If you are building an AI product and you are still doing vibe checks as your evaluation strategy, this is worth trying. If you are interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below.